I'm excited to watch this kid play.
Becker's a three. You bet!
Juju Watkins, just a freshman. She has a pro-style body already.
Here's Bud wide open. Connects.
Caitlin Clark, this kid has mentality beyond freshman age.
Anytime an exciting new prospect rises in women's college hoops, you hear the same chatter from fans or even from media.
You know, you and Juju Watkins had a moment in the post-game handshake line. Curious what was said.
Go pro. It's a great opportunity for you at WNBA, overseas, bigger fish to fry.
The conversation is as old as time, and it's very close to the core of basketball culture, the idea of the one and done. It's the legend of a talent rising out of high school that's so undeniable they can skip the college level and go straight to the pros. Jump-starting their careers so fans can enjoy decades of pro hoops, and franchises get to make choices on their future based off of many years of development, high upside, and room to grow. In men's basketball, the one and done has proliferated most of the successful rebuilds of the last 20 years. After an era where players like Kobe Bryant and LeBron James joined the NBA right out of high school, the league and the NBA Players Union decided in 2005, upon the ratification of that CBA, to raise the age minimum for a rookie to 19, with a mandatory gap year between high school and the pros. In the years since, one-and-dones have taken over the league with some high-profile stops in the NCAA system. Players like Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, or most recently Cooper Flagg. Always an exciting year in the NCAA tournament, but the expectation is that if you're good enough, you're going to play pro basketball before your 20th birthday. But the reality in women's basketball in the US is a little different. Rather than jumping into the pro game as teenagers, top talent cuts their teeth in the hyper-competitive world of NCAA basketball, with late bloomers and veteran locker room presences finding as much success as your average freshman phenom. And that consolidation of talent has been powered by and resulted in juggernaut programs throughout the history of NCAA women's basketball, like UConn, Tennessee, Baylor, South Carolina, most recently UCLA. Players come to develop over 4 years in college before finally making the jump to the WNBA. For example, on April 13th, the Dallas Wings selected UConn fifth-year senior Azzi Fudd #1 overall in the 2026 WNBA draft. Their second selection of a fifth-year Husky guard in as many years after picking up eventual 2025 Rookie of the Year Paige Bueckers. Both Fudd and Bueckers took the long road to the pros after joining UConn as highly touted high school phenoms, navigating unexpected injuries as they grew into their careers. Both players adopted into additional years of NCAA eligibility due to those injuries, eventually winning a national championship together and giving the Wings 2 pro-ready guards ready to hit the court right away as starters. But why does that patient, steady approach in women's basketball exist so far removed from the one-and-done culture that has dominated men's basketball for so long? It's not for lack of talent. Bueckers and Fudd are just 2 of the highly touted high school prospects to totally make good at the NCAA level. But the chatter also isn't going anywhere. Juju Watkins is already projected to go as #1 in 2027 coming out of USC, and same with UConn's Sarah Strong in 2028. Generational talent in women's basketball is only accelerating as resources behind the sport continue to explode. So if the talent is there, why hasn't there been more of a push to get top NCAA prospects into the WNBA faster? For one, the rules as they stand don't allow it, and there are historical reasons why. According to the WNBA's latest CBA, US-born players can only enter WNBA eligibility having graduated from a 4-year college within 3 months of the draft, or having been 4 years removed from high school graduation. And if international players opt to go through the NCAA pipeline, their timeline becomes the same as homegrown prospects. Depending on their birth date and school timeline, players could technically go pro before their senior college season if they turn 22 years old in the calendar year any individual draft takes place. For example, LSU and now Seattle Storm guard Flau'jae Johnson was eligible to forego her senior season and go pro in 2025, but in following with common practice, decided to not come out of the NCAA system early. The league and its players' union have had the opportunity to change these rules with every CBA cycle, but both parties have been reluctant to overthrow the current player pipeline, and they have their reasons why. On the WNBA side, a historic lack of roster spots has made it very, very difficult to conceive a world where young talent is going to be able to make a push for a pro roster before graduating from college. While the league is currently set to grow to 18 teams by 2030, the last decade of 12-player teams has produced devastating training camp cuts year after year. In 2023, only 42% of all drafted players made a WNBA opening day roster. In 2024, that number dropped to 36% before rebounding to 53% in 2025. In part, thanks to expansion. The reality is these roster spots simply haven't existed for a high percentage of the talent coming through the NCAA ranks. We're now finally going to see some roster relief in the upcoming years as an aggressive expansion plan is going to widen those numbers of roster spots league-wide. But there remain fears that a one-and-done concept would actually result in fewer players kickstarting pro careers rather than more. And on the college side, there are also a number of reasons why the NCAA's institutional powers would want to maintain the status quo. Players build brands in college. With NIL money pouring gasoline on the fire of women's basketball's explosion since its introduction in 2021, players get to attach themselves to larger-than-life college basketball programs. With rabid fan bases excited to integrate players into long legacies that sometimes predate the WNBA itself. And college basketball's storytelling benefits greatly from the concept of steady growth over a 4-year career. With one and done, you probably don't get Caitlin Clark taking Iowa to back-to-back Final Fours while obliterating the Division I basketball scoring record along the way. You don't get Maya Moore or Breanna Stewart's UConn dynasties. Brittany Griner's undefeated Baylor season in 2012, or undefeated South Carolina in 2024, led by center Camila Cardoso, who had to wait her turn behind Aaliyah Boston to get a starting role. You don't get Beckers riding off into the sunset with a long-awaited national championship in 2025. And you certainly don't get UCLA's breakthrough to the program's first title behind 6 seniors, all of whom were drafted to the pros just this month. If you want to kill it, then let the kids leave after freshman year, legendary UConn head coach Geno Auriemma said in 2024. On the men's side, it's become transactional. Everyone's a free agent, everyone's a mercenary. It's not the kids' fault. To me, what helped the women's game grow is the people in Iowa who got to grow up with Caitlin Clark, the people of Connecticut who got to grow up with all of my great players. There's something to be said for that. And it's not just about the fairy tale. For years, there was a coherent argument that the material resources at the NCAA level actually outweighed what players were getting in the WNBA. For example, the WNBA only adopted league-wide charter flights in 2024, with new minimum standing for staffing and facilities now being implemented in the league's brand new CBA. Players traditionally had it better in college. However, with the new CBA and rapid expansion on the horizon, the WNBA just might be changing enough to, before we know it, be able to launch a true superstar, one-and-done talent. An unofficial, unsung pilot program for younger WNBA rookies is coming kind of naturally, and it is actually coming from outside the NCAA pipeline. Non-NCAA international prospects, defined as any person born and residing outside the United States who participates in the game of basketball as an amateur or professional, have slightly different rules than homegrown players, only needing to turn 20 years old in the same calendar year as the WNBA draft. And as the international game grows, WNBA teams are increasingly taking that teenage talent with that hope of high upside and the ability to grow into the pro game. We have seen 2 European teenagers go in the lottery in the last 2 WNBA drafts, with 19-year-old Dominique Malonga out of France going number 2 to Seattle in 2025, and Awa Pham of Spain also going to Seattle third in 2026. And that's where you start to see some of these norms change as the environment changes. Should Malonga and Pham usher in a new era of dominance in Seattle, combined with a newly diluted player pool due to expansion and greater resources league-wide at the pro level, we might start to see attitudes towards a WNBA one-and-done concept begin to shift, perhaps putting the league in conflict with the power players of the NCAA. In that case, a rule change feels like a matter of when, not if. Whether it falls on lowering the age of eligibility or shortening the necessary years of college service. But change doesn't happen super fast, it's not going to happen overnight. Fans might have to wait a whole new CBA cycle before they can start hoping for their tanking favorites to hit the young prospect lottery. If you liked that video and want to see more, like and subscribe to Just Women's Sports on YouTube.